This week's My American Dream segment is brought to you by Leavenworth Virtual School.
The following program is brought to you by TZ Productions, celebrating KPTS's nearly 50 years of community support in South Central Kansas. Great starts here on KPTS.
Brought to you by Central Security Group, your experts in home automation, security, and peace of mind. View video on your smartphone and control your home's lights, locks, heating, cooling, and more. Security app compatible with Apple Watch and Amazon Echo.
Program support provided by the F. Price Kosman Memorial Trust, Entrust Bank trustee, bringing you the Kansas Wild Edge segments on Positively Kansas.
It's time for Positively Kansas. Coming up.
Yeah, I could have easily left, went somewhere else, an entire new beginning. But I mean, if people can forgive you here, where this happened, I mean, there's no other feat you can't accomplish.
You'll have to pay for a haircut or tattoo at this shop in Hutchinson, but the life lessons are free, and the teachers know from experience what they're talking about. It's a story of repentance and second chances. Also, by day, he's saving lives on the operating table, but by night, this Wichita surgeon has a whole other line of work that'll make you pop your cork. Anthony Powell has his story. Plus,
and I love making movies, making these what I call internet art.
His avant-garde movies have had a regional cult following for generations, but now this Wichita filmmaker has developed a whole new audience for his creative productions. We'll enter the world of the one and only R.G. Miller coming up. I'm Sierra Scott. Those stories and many more are coming your way. Positively Kansas starts right now. Thousands of inmates are released from Kansas prisons every year. But even if they've learned their lesson and are ready to turn over a new leaf, being accepted back into society is not easy for ex-cons. That's why our first story is so special. Jim Grayway reports from Hutchinson.
We all know that life in the big house is no picnic.
Prison was very, very scary. It was crazy.
But then again, Luis Gutierrez admits he was no Girl Scout either.
I had a fight with a friend, and I ended up killing my friend.
A jury sent him up the river for life. The place, Hutchinson Correctional Facility. The charge, murder one.
I thought I was going to die in there.
But Luis didn't give up. He took full responsibility and cleaned up his act. The parole board eventually took notice and granted his release after 26 years behind bars. That was then. This is now.
I really, really appreciate you letting me do this for you, ma'am.
He's tattooing and teaching lessons he learned the hard way at his new business called Redemption Inc.
I was blessed with a second opportunity in life, and I didn't come out here with the mentality that you owe me or because I've been away. I came out here with the mentality that I messed up, and it is my duty, it's my responsibility to prove myself to everyone.
The tattoo biz is located inside Legends Barbershop on Hutchinson's north side.
Sad that you're going to a funeral.
The head honcho is ex-con Tommy Galindo.
Prior to becoming a barber, I was off in the streets and I was doing a lot of bad.
Tommy says he initially became a barber because it seemed like a good way to launder drug money. Turns out, it wasn't such a good idea after all.
I went to prison and I went away for 7 years.
Then Tommy had a come-to-Jesus moment while perfecting his haircutting skills on cellmates.
I really do feel like God was like, man, you are talented, son, but I am gonna put you away for 7 years. So if you add up the money and the time I was away, it's like God was like, yeah, you did something bad, but you're gonna pay for it, and I hope you learn, from this mistake. Well, I did.
He was released in 2011. At first, Tommy had a difficult time finding a job, but then a local salon gave him a shot, and he quickly proved he had the skills to pay the bills and the character and heart of a changed man. Within a few months of his release, Tommy won a local contest for Hutchinson's favorite barber.
It just feels good to give them that fresh look and make them feel good, like show them the mirror and say, hey, how do you like that? What do you think? And you could automatically see the change in them. And then that change is like what I felt when people gave me that opportunity. It's a cleansing. It's like me giving back.
He opened Legends Barbershop in 2013.
You know, our slogan's come ordinary, leave legendary.
And Tommy says he's an open book to anyone who wants to listen.
I don't deny my past. I don't hide it. I'm very clear with it, and I speak about it.
Oh, I love it. I've known Tommy since second, third grade.
Oh, yeah.
And we're good friends, and we both had lots of struggles and both made mistakes, and we both have bounced back and have done tremendous, and he has done a great job of changing his life around.
I can also let him know that it's not the end of the world. That look where I'm at, where I was facing 32 years in the Department of Corrections, and I got a second chance.
And Tommy passed on that second chance to his former prison mate, Luis, by giving him space in the barbershop to do tattoos. From partners in crime to partners in business, they can give you a fresh look as well as a fresh outlook on life and people and what's possible.
There's no excuse for failure. I mean, if a loser like me could do it, anyone could do it.
Check out this tattoo he inked on Army veteran Paul Morse, who, like so many in the Hutch community, has helped make all this possible through a willingness to forgive and forget in the face of accountability and humility.
Everybody deserves a chance. You can't look back and say, well, you did this and you did that, because like you said earlier, I've done some pretty bad things myself. And I don't want anybody to judge me on that, because that's not who I am anymore.
I could have easily left, went somewhere else, an entire new beginning. But I mean, if people can forgive you here, where this happened, I mean, there's no other feat you can't accomplish.
Luis hopes that someday he'll save enough money so he can start doing tattoos for free, particularly for people who want to conceal embarrassing scars and other skin abnormalities. Now to a Wichita man who has diversified his professional life. Dr. Theo Melian has been a highly regarded brain and spine surgeon for decades. And now for the past dozen years, the doctor has taken on a second career that has absolutely nothing to do with surgery. Although sometimes it can be good for what ails you. Anthony Powell has the story.
This shows a herniated disc in the cervical spine on the left side, pinching a nerve.
It's another busy day for Dr. Theo Melian as he takes a brief break from seeing patients at the Kansas Spine and Specialty Hospital on Wichita's east side. As a matter of fact, it's been a very busy life for Melian, who might make you feel a little less worthy when you hear about his many accomplishments.
My goals were always to become a research scientist. And when I finished college, I actually went to graduate school and got a PhD in pharmacology.
Oh, but his academic journey didn't stop there. Melian went on to med school and became a neurosurgeon. The doctor and his family moved several times over the years. Wichita became home in 2004.
Oh, we love it here. My daughter was 2.5 when we moved here, so she's grown up here and still goes to school here at Wichita Collegiate. We've developed a lot of friends here. We've become very active in the community.
Melian says Wichita provides the simple kind of life that is the perfect balance to his very hectic life. Dr. Melian is indeed a very, very ambitious man. As if being a surgeon doesn't keep him busy enough, he also owns another business that's quite different from medicine. It's a business that began with his love of the country of France. You see, many years ago, Dr. Melian began traveling to France, known for, among other things, its wine. Melian had long been a wine connoisseur, so France became like a second home.
I rapidly developed a love for French wines, and so my travel started to incorporate visits to winemakers and restaurants, and that really kind of blossomed into a passion that, you know, I hoped someday would turn into another career.
And in 2006, it did. Despite being very busy with medicine, Melian started a wine import company called Roche-Mère, which translates to Mother Rock. In the complex wine world, the rock that lies beneath the grapevines is said to contribute to a wine's flavor and texture. Melian saw a niche with small family-owned vineyards that didn't have the time or resources to market their wines to America, so that's what his company began doing.
We work with probably close to 30 different winemakers all around France. For some of them, we're the exclusive U.S. importer. They may sell wines in France and Germany and Japan, but we may be the only source of their wines in the U.S.
Now at this point, you're probably thinking, how can somebody be a surgeon, a husband, a father, and run an import business? You're not alone.
It's been a bit of a juggling act.
Melian often travels for the wine business and checks emails early in the morning and between patients. He also has a partner, Michael Murray, who we met in Wichita and who has years of experience in the beverage business. Between the two, they have been able to get their wines in restaurants and liquor stores all over the country, including Wichita.
We have a lot of wines at Chester's Chop House. The Wine Dive has a large number of our wines. The new steakhouse on the west side, Success, carries our wines. Newport, Scotch and Sirloin.
Though he might be a bit biased, Dr. Melian told us why he believes wine is such a special type of drink.
It has so many different faces and it evolves. A wine in its youth is very different than a wine at peak maturity. It develops secondary characteristics and tastes and aromas.
And of course, we had to ask the doctor which he prefers, medicine or the wine business. Both, he says, bring him happiness in their own way. But he did tell us that being known by some patients as the wine doctor can provide for some pretty amusing situations in the normally tense operating room.
People say, oh, have you had a couple of drinks? And I say, oh yeah, I feel great. Yeah, you'll be fine.
I sure was fine when the doctor offered me a sample, which also provided an opportunity to speak the little French I know. Très bien.
Merci.
For Positively Kansas, I'm Anthony Powell.
Dr. Melian says he plans to practice medicine for a few more years and then transition full-time into the wine business. If you like things that are a little different, this might be right up your alley. Jeff Goodman has the story of a Wichita filmmaker who has his own approach to the visual art of movie making, and now he's getting worldwide attention for it.
Bitch! Roll, turn!
I like kind of like action with a lot of drama in it. You know, it can't be just action, 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 action. What motivates me is more of an adventure movies.
To become king, that power is in the land of Ned, the Middle Kingdom.
To look around Wichita filmmaker R.G. Miller's studio, you can say he's passionate about filmmaking.
And I love making movies, making these what I call internet art.
Working with small to no budgets, Miller has been making movies in his Dunbar neighborhood for nearly 40 years. And in the beginning, some folks didn't quite know what to make of his early movie making.
Some people call me a weirdo, other people look at me real strange like, and some people will say, well, you know, he's got a little hobby. Most of the people in my neighborhood just couldn't fathom what I was really doing. You making films? And because they think of films, they think of Hollywood.
Eventually, Hollywood came a-knocking. In the early 1980s, Miller says he got a phone call from a major movie studio executive who saw his 12-minute horror film entitled The Murderer.
And they said something about the film, that they seen it and they were interested, but they don't hire directors over the phone. And I said, oh, okay, all right, and I hung up the phone. And And that was the end of that. And I reflect back on it, it's like, man, I just threw away a career, you know, without even thinking, you know.
So you're trying to keep it all for yourself, Monroe. Now tell me, where's the Spanish gold?
Undaunted by this experience, Miller decided to distribute his films himself. He and his brother began handing out free DVDs on the street. His films became an instant hit with kids and young adults. Miller says they especially liked films featuring a superhero he created named Ace Thunder Ace. With the advent of the internet, Miller was able to cash in on the viral video craze and post his films on YouTube.
I tracked the data from YouTube, and I just one day I looked on there, and Ace Thunder Ace, all the way in India, he's popular. Yeah, I said, oh my God. It's like, for some reason, the first Ace Thunder Ace is very popular in India and Saudi Arabia.
It was the internet that gave Miller his second brush with Hollywood, this time in the form of a documentary. The film was called Double Digits.
What are we trying to achieve, Edward? This is insane. The documentary was fun. It was meeting some new people from LA. I call them the Hollywood guys, because to me they were people who were into it professionally, more so than I am.
In 2015, Double Digits premiered at the Tallgrass Film Festival, nabbing 3 awards. Miller says the Tallgrass experience has given him an opportunity to meet and work with other creative people who live right here in Wichita.
As soon as my film came to their attention, they contacted me, and since then, they've helped me get established with other people here, artists in Wichita.
Miller says being able to make his films the way he wants and work with the kind of people he wants to work with makes him the luckiest filmmaker in the world.
Well, Jed, I haven't found it yet. I guess the 3 of us are going to have to dance for it.
For Positively Kansas, I'm Jeff Goodvin.
If you want to see RG's films in their entirety, they're easy to find on YouTube. Well, Kansas is tops in the nation for a lot of things, but did you know it's the #1 state for watching prairie chickens in the wild? Well, that's what photojournalist Mike Blair says in this week's edition of Kansas Wild Edge.
It begins like a dream. Strange sounds, fragments of motion, focus that never quite settles before it's jumbled again. In the murky darkness, there's no hard reality, only strange impressions. But light gradually builds, and with it, perception. No dream after all. This is a dance, a rare but beautiful April ball that occurs only in the last great grasslands of America. And its dancers are birds, tawny, striped, all but invisible when immobile in the prairie grass. But that's seldom the case when morning sunlight first touches the dancing ground. It's courting time for prairie chickens. It's called a lek, this special meeting place where males jump and display. It's noisy and boisterous, and hens are drawn from a mile or more away. But don't look for leks just anywhere. They're always near prime nesting habitat, and that means high-quality, unbroken grasslands all around. Prairie country. The lek itself is usually marked by short grass where bowing males can show off their moves to best advantage. But even then, the cocks often vault high in the air in a display known as flutter jumping. Spring males hop into the air again and again, calling and fluttering in an odd, clumsy-looking exhibition that serves as a visual attention getter above the waving grass tops. And along with raucous sounds, this visual flash draws distant hens to the party. Booming is the trademark sound of a prairie chicken lek. These male calls can be heard for a mile or more on a still day. Cocks inflate large vocal sacs to amplify their calls. While calling, they raise horn-like feathers called pinnae, nod and stamp their feet, and then dance forward to accent their calls. Booming occurs whether or not hens are present, but it's more urgent when females are shopping a mate. The Midwest has two prairie chicken species. Greater prairie chickens live in tall and mid-grass situations. Lesser prairie chickens prefer arid, short grass western prairies. Though lekking activity is similar for both species, physical traits and calls are not. Greater prairie chickens, more common and slightly larger, have yellow gular sacs and produce a hollow sound not unlike a human blowing across the top of an empty bottle. Lesser chicken males have red gular sacs and they produce a bubbling call. Their booms are described more as gobbling. Squabbles are frequent on the lek. While hens are absent, males constantly challenge each other along invisible lines, often sitting beak to beak and scolding their warnings. Fights are usually brief, but sometimes they go on for minutes. Birds peck each other, pull feathers, and chase each other on foot. Aerial battles are usually momentary, and slow motion reveals far more contact than is evident to the eye. Declining grassland habitat threatens these once common birds, and birders may travel long distances to see those that remain. Meanwhile, Kansas now boasts the largest prairie chicken population in America. Trade some hours of sleep, arrive on a lek before daylight, and you'll see and hear one of nature's finest dances. I'm Mike Blair for Positively Kansas.
Next week, Mike shows us the visual masterpiece of Kansas wildflowers in full spring bloom. Now let's go to Macy Johnson with this week's edition of My American Dream.
Welcome back to My American Dream. I'm your host, Macy Nicole Johnson. I am joined with Jared Villardo. We actually went to high school together, so thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
On this episode, so I kind of want to get to know you. Although we did go to high school together, I was like the drama nerd and you were like the track star and everything. So just talk about that and what life was like for you growing up.
My father, he was military, so that's what brought us out here.
Okay.
And then we were stationed at Fort Leavenworth, and that's just like where I graduated high school, got into track and all that.
So Leavenworth, I feel, was a very, very like warming community. Everybody was nice. I didn't feel like they were like cliques or anything like that. So how did you get involved with track?
I was looking for something to do. Like originally I was a skateboarder. That was like my love and passion. And then I was like good at jumping like in skateboarding. They're like, oh yeah, just go out do track. Maybe be a jumper. I didn't start out like super successful, but like towards the year, like I was getting like just better and better in like crazy increments. And they're like, oh, well maybe you can go somewhere with this. Started getting college looks and all that. And then junior year, even more successful. Senior year, even more successful. And then I got a college scholarship and now here I am.
So your specific event is the jumping, right?
I do the long and triple jump, yes.
Wow, look, I could not do that. I could not. Okay. You know, moving forward, do you see yourself doing like sports in the future? Do you see yourself joining the Olympics? I mean, I don't know, what's after this?
Like I've had quite the success. My freshman year, I was a centimeter away from qualifying for the Olympic trials up in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh my gosh.
And then that was like my best year. Last year I was like riddled with injuries. So this is the first year I've been like really back into the track and field thing. So I mean, if I do really well and blow up, then I don't know, we could go post-collegiate, but I don't know.
So did you see any difficulty trying to be like an athlete in balancing school and trying to have really good grades and maintaining a scholarship?
Like, I don't have a very big problem with it. It gets more complicated during the season because we travel, miss class. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if anybody's looking up to you, they want to be the next track star, what type of advice would you give to like a young person that's like, you know what, I think I'm going to quit track?
Just keep chasing your dreams, keep working hard in practice, and then the success will come.
Okay, all right. Well, so now that we've gotten to this point, what would you define as your American dream?
I think my American dream is the ability to be able to do whatever you want. Like, basically in this day and age, like, you don't have to have like a set plan.
Right.
Like, even like now, like, I'm doing all right. I have a plan per se, but I mean, anything can happen. Like, just with the track thing, like, that was just out of a whim.
Life.
Yeah, it's just life coming at you. So I mean, I think it's cool just to be able to go with the flow, and things will turn out all right as long as you're working hard, staying focused, and then just going towards just something.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on another episode of My American Dream. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Macy, and thank you for watching the show this week. If you have a comment or a story idea, please email it to positivelykansas@kpts.org. We love hearing from you. I'm Sierra Scott. We'll see you again next time. So long.
Program support provided by the F. Price Kosman Memorial Trust, Entrust Bank trustee, bringing you the Kansas Wild Edge segments on Positively Kansas.
Brought to you by Central Security Group, your experts in home automation, security, and peace of mind. View video on your smartphone and control your home's lights, locks, heating, cooling, and more. Security app compatible with Apple Watch and Amazon Echo.
The preceding program was brought to you by TZ Productions, supporting KPTS and the communities it serves in South Central Kansas. Great starts here on KPTS.
This week's My American Dream segment is brought to you by Leavenworth Virtual School. Support also comes from viewers like you. Thank you. Call KPTS to receive a DVD copy of this program for a $40 donation. You can also send a check or money order along with the program name, date, and time to the address on your screen. And you will receive a 1-year KPTS membership.